Hey everyone again. Alright, we're going back into some more language. Today we're going to be talking about punctuation. So for punctuation, you have quotation marks, commas, apostrophe, end marks. That's what we're going to talk about again today. We're on Think B, page 289 in your language book. So we're going to do some reviewing. Okay, so in the back of your language book, if some of you still have that, because I know some of your books were looking kind of tough, you have your handbook and rules for different things that we talked about in language. So on page, let's see, it's 312 through pages 313. If you don't have this handbook in the back of your book because you lost it, all you have to go is to your table of contents in your language book. Your table of contents, and it will tell you where we talked about commas, where we talked about apostrophes, where we talked about quotations and end marks. So all you have to do is just look back in your table of contents if you so happen to have that handbook in the back of your book, because I know some of y'all's books were looking a little rough in the back. So I'm on page 312 in your handbook in the back of your language book. It's about punctuation. It has the 7 rules for commas, the rules for apostrophes, the rules for quotation marks. So let's look at the rules for quotation marks. Remember, I said what the quotation marks, which prevent when someone's usually talking. So rule 1, use quotation marks before and after a direct quotation. A direct quotation is a person's exact words. And if you look on page 158 in your language book, is where we talked about quotations, about how to place quotation marks on a thing. Remember, I said when you think it's somebody talking, highlight. Remember, highlight, and it'll help you tell where your quotation marks will go. Remember, that little trick I taught you. So, the example in the book says, Jesus said, "Come unto me, and all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." That is a direct quotation from Jesus, so it's in quotation marks. Rule 2, use quotation marks before and after the titles of short stories. Remember I told you there's a short story called Ricky Tikki Tavi that goes in quotation marks about the mongoose and the cobra? Poems, songs, chapters, articles, and any other parts of books, magazines, and newspapers. And that would, if you looked on page 160 in your language book, is the quotation marks for titles. And it says, Ricky Tikki Tavi is a short story that's in quotations. The Village Blacksmith, it's a poem, it's in quotations. Old Folks at Home is a Florida State song, you put it in quotations. So quotations don't just go around when someone's talking. Most of the time that's when you really see them though the most. So remember, highlight what you think goes in quotations, especially if it's someone speaking. And then it will definitely let you know this part goes in quotations. Okay? Then you have commas. There were 7 rules for commas. And this was, it started on page 133 in your language book. That was the start of your comma, and it gave you the first 2 comma rules. Use commas to separate 3 or more items written in a series. The items may be words or groups of words. Rule 2, use commas to separate 2 or more adjectives that come before a noun. Then we were on page 135, had rule 3, commas in a compound sentence. Use a comma before the conjunctions. Conjunction, junction, what's your function? That was Schoolhouse Rock. And, but, or, nor, for, and yet, when they join parts of a compound sentence. Then we were on page 138. It gave you 2 more comma rules, commas in dates, letters, and addresses. So use commas to separate items and dates and addresses. Think about when you write your address. And let's say my address would say Rocky Mount, comma, North Carolina. Use a comma after the salutation of a friendly letter and after the closing of any letter. Then we were on page 140 about commas can set off words. It says use commas after well, yes, no, and why at the beginning of a sentence. So well, yes, no, and why at the beginning of a sentence, you put a comma after it. Use commas to set off words of direct address. Well, then we had apostrophes. That was on page 141, the helpful apostrophe. And apostrophes are a contraction in a word in which a letter or letters have been omitted. The apostrophe takes the place of the missing letters. Contractions are used primarily in conversations, not in writing. A positive possessive noun is a noun that shows possession or ownership. It always contains an apostrophe, and there's 3 rules for the possessive noun of apostrophes. Use an apostrophe to show where letters have been omitted in a contraction. Like don't has apostrophe, D-O-N apostrophe T. Can't. Use an apostrophe to form the plurals of letters. Like when you do cats. The cat's bowl. Whose bowl is it? It's the cat's. C-A-T apostrophe S. Use an apostrophe in possessive noun to show possession or ownership. And that's why I just showed you the ownership of it. So please go over those 3 things in your language book. You don't necessarily have to be in the back of the book to actually see examples. Go in your language book and find them. I told you you got to find those examples. Look over them. In marks, remember, period. If it's a statement, it's period. Question mark goes at the end of a sentence when there's being a question asked. An exclamation point shows excitement in a sentence. If there's excitement, you need to put an exclamation point. So those are your endpoints. So that's your review on punctuation. If you got a question, let me know. I will see you guys next time. Bye.